Make your way to your seats, and then if you could all rise, please, for the national anthem. Gentlemen, please remove your caps. The national anthem will be sung by Barb Payton and Julianne Ankley.
Thank you. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Good job.
Fantastic. Should we get this program started? How many Oakland University Golden Grizzlies do we have in the house? We got a few. How much fun was it about 6 months ago? Yeah, we're going to get to that. First, I'd like to introduce the president of St. Clair County Community College. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Kirk Kramer.
Thank you and welcome to St. Clair County Community College. We have been part of this community for over 100 years. One of the very first community colleges in the nation. What that reminds me is of the courage, the vision, the innovation, and the care this community has for its citizens and for the advancement and the opportunities for each and every one. We continue that today. So when I say welcome to St. Clair County Community College, that's really all of us. We are part. It's not a welcome to, it's a welcome, we're here. Because the college is part of us, part of you, we're all together as a community. And now if you would indulge me, something that many of you know I like to do, I'd like to take a selfie with you. Thank you.
All right, folks, it was March 21st. The Oakland University Golden Grizzlies shocked the world when they knocked the number 3 Kentucky Wildcats out of the NAACP basketball tournament. A lot of great stories surrounding that team, not the least of which was their coach, the longest tenured college basketball coach in the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Oakland University's coach for the last 40 years, Michigan Sports Hall of Famer, Greg Kampe.
The greatest upset in this program's history. How'd you do it?
This guy right here, he had no conscience. We talked all week. Just go shoot it, baby. You're the best.
Coming up next to the stage, the longtime radio voice of Michigan State Spartan football, the soundtrack to many a fall Saturday afternoon on WPHM, now the Bally Sports TV voice of the Pistons. His first NBA play-by-play was at Cobo Arena, calling the Pistons game on the radio on October 23rd, 1976. Please give it up for Michigan Sports Hall of Famer George Blaha.
Touchdown, MSU! A 61-yard score. How about that? Lambeer takes him down. Bird's not going to stand for that. We're going to have a fight now. Lambeer just grabbed him around the neck and took him down. Yep. And Lambeer thinks he wants to fight Bird.
And now I think, George, you're going to introduce our very special guest for the evening. Or I'm going to. He started playing basketball at the age of 3 in his hometown of Chicago. He played for Bobby Knight's Indiana Hoosiers and his whole NBA career for the Detroit Pistons, where he and the Bad Boys won 2 NBA championships, a 12-time NBA All-Star, Michigan Sports Hall of Famer from your Detroit Pistons. Ladies and gentlemen, Isiah Thomas.
Detroit wins this one by a dozen. 107-95 is the final.
Isiah and Dominique combined. It seems so simple with two great players like Isiah Thomas and Dominique.
5 on the clock. 2 on the clock. Isiah for 3. And Detroit takes the lead. Thomas over Paxson. Isiah's on fire.
Let me say something. Thank you very much for the applause. I know every time I hear some, I have to thank the Bad Boys, because I've been connected through my voice with so many great, iconic moments. And, of course, the back-to-back world championships. They could have won 4 in a row, should have won 3 in a row, did win 2 in a row, and they're one of the greatest teams of all time. And the greatest of the Bad Boys is ready to speak to you now. And one of the greatest players to ever play this game. We're so lucky that he came to Detroit, and we hope he'll always have a great attachment to our city and our state. Number 11, Isiah Thomas.
First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight and welcoming all of us. And to Mr. Josh Chapman, where are you at? Thank you. Appreciate everything that you've done and everything that you're doing for the community. You know, this is really an important night for all of us. And I'd like to first talk to the parents and the donors of tonight, because you never know who you're really touching. And you never know who that little kid is going to grow up to be. You never know the check that you sign, the time that you spend, the money that you donate, the mentoring that you do. You never know how important it is to that little boy or that little girl. I was one of those little kids that received a lot of help along the way. I received a lot of donations. I received a lot of mentoring. And a couple of sprints along the way. But while they was teaching and loving and giving of me, they never knew that I would grow up to be what I became. So like all of you parents and donors who are in the audience tonight, I want to give you a big hand and thank you. And all the young men and women who are in the audience tonight, please stand up and let's give them a standing ovation. The time that they donate, the time that they spend driving you to and from the Y, the time that they take their last dollar or their last 50 cents and make sure you have something to eat, the time that they spend worrying about you to make sure that you're going to be all right. That's what we thank them for. I had so much help along the way. And coming here tonight, as you can see in my speech right now, I came down with a little Bell's palsy. And I went to the doctor, I'm waiting for his call. He said, well, I don't know if you should travel. I said, I got to get on that plane. He said, well, you know, the air pressure on the plane, it may mess with your eardrums, and it may cause you to, you know, your face to kind of contort a little bit. I said, well, you know, I think the people here in Michigan, they understand, you know, they done seen me beat up a lot. I said to the doctor, I said, you know, this won't be the first time they've seen me with an ugly face. I mean, you know, they'd seen me with my head this big and stitches and everything else. But why was it important that I be here tonight? It was important because, again, the little kids who are dreaming, who have that big dream of making it to the WNBA or making it to the NBA or just being what you are today. You are the mentors. You are the heroes. You're the ones that they look up to. So it was important for me to be here tonight because so many of you have introduced your kids and your family to me and said, this is Isiah, this is who he is. Where my two sisters at? Ava and what's your sister's name? Is Ava, where Ava at? Did Ava leave? Ava and her little sister, right? Ava said, I need you to sign this autograph for me. It's important. I said, why is it so important? She said, my dad told me about you. My dad said, I gotta get this. So Ava, to you and your sister, please say hello to Dad again for me, and thank you. And we thank Dad also. But these moments, these precious, tender moments that you are giving to these kids every single day, you have the ability to either make their day or break their day. Just by the way you treat them, you conduct yourself with them, and the words that you say to them. I had no idea that I'd be standing here in nice clothes. George told you how I grew up. I had no idea that I would be standing here in nice clothes with a full stomach and can pay my bills. When I was little, somebody said, you're gonna be all right. And on that day they was telling me I was gonna be all right, I never thought I was gonna be all right. But every day when I woke up, somebody along the way, whether it be my mom, my teacher, my coach, Johnny down the street, somebody would say to me, hey, you're going to be all right. You're going to be okay. And then I started believing it. And then there was this guy. How much time I got before my 15 minutes up? I'm going to tell you this one story and then I'm going to sit down. But there was this guy, he's a world famous boxer. And his name was Muhammad Ali. Now, back then, you listened to the fights on the radio. I know y'all can't even believe that. You listened to the fights on the radio. I didn't know if he was a good fighter or a bad fighter. But this is what I did know, and this is what I heard. I heard Muhammad Ali tell Howard Cosell that he was what? Say it one more time. He said he was what? Now he's dead and gone. And we still saying he's the greatest. You know who told him he was the greatest? You know who told him he was the greatest? He did. He woke up every morning and looked in the mirror and he said, I am the greatest. And then he started believing it. And to this day, we still say he's the greatest. So I want all of the young people in the audience today, that little voice in your head that's always telling you you can't, or you ain't this, or have that negative talk or vibe that's going on in your head. It's always somebody talking to you, right? It's always somebody saying something to you, but you don't know who that is, right? But it's somebody saying, oh, I don't know, what's your name? Amber. Amber is somebody saying, Amber, I don't know, you sure you want to do that? And Amber, you go, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. And Amber, they say, why are you talking to yourself? You say, well, somebody talking to me. Well, that person, Amber, who's talking to you, that person who's saying things to you, this is what I want all of you to do. Tell that person to say positive things to you. Tell that person to talk nice to you. Whoever that person is talking to you in your head, that voice that you hear, because we all got one. And Muhammad Ali told that person, hey, guess what? I'm the greatest. So when you leave here tonight, all of you are the greatest. I appreciate your time. I look forward to answering these questions, Coach. And speaking of the greatest, Coach Kampe, can you please stand up again? Oakland University, y'all were the greatest.
"15 minutes. They told me I had an hour.
Well,
Josh,
they know who the greatest is.
oh yeah. Josh, you guys need to know these people were relentless. All right, I'm here. They were relentless. It's really special for me to be on the stage. When you talk about the greatest, you've got two of the greatest of all time in what they do. No one's better than George. I used to think it was Ernie Harwell. All right, and all my generation knows that name, but George is right there. So we're on a stage with that, and then the greatest point guard in the history of the game. I don't know if Isiah remembers this, but when he first came to the Pistons, I'm so old that they practiced at Oakland University, and he would run his basketball camp. And when he's here talking about the why and what he's done with kids, it just wasn't as he got old. He was young at this time, and he ran this camp at our place. And he'd have 500 kids come to our camp, and 499 of them came for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's who he is, all right? A guy by the name of Will Robinson kind of ran the camp for him, and Doc Tucker and Magic would be there. And for me, the best part of it was we had an all-star game. And I don't know if Isiah remember this or not, but at the end of camp, we'd have an all-star game. And I was still young at the time. They let me play in it. And in the one game, Isiah and I combined for 54 points. We did. He had 52. But we did combine for 54 points. So as you get older, like I have, you have all the about me stuff goes away, and you want to be involved in things that make a difference. And I'm here because anytime that you deal and work with kids, any organization that work with kids, I think is more, maybe the most important organizations there are. And I just want to thank you for having me, but more importantly, I want to thank the people. Isiah talked about the kids, and it's all about you guys. But think about the people that are here working for you. I met a lady up there that is in charge of all the food and feeds these people and for pennies on the dollar. And I met all these people who have put so much time and effort into this. And so all you people that are here tonight, those are really the stars. Those are the people that make this go. And I just want to thank them. And I hope everybody here would go with me, and let's give a round of applause for all the people that work so hard. All right, enough of that. I was asked to tell some stories, so I'm going to tell some stories, okay? We beat Kentucky, right? And the coach there had to go get another job. And so I've spent the whole summer touring the country. Everybody wants to talk about, and all they want to know is about Cal, and you're the guy. I'm a member at Oakland Hills Country Club. I'm a big golfer, and I was working the U.S. Junior Am this summer, and I'm sitting there in USGA outfit, not even, with a cap on and everything, and this coach walks in, and he's assistant golf coach at Arkansas, and he's there watching some of these young kids play recruiting, and he walks into the room that I'm in, and he looks at me and goes, "You're the guy that got us our new coach, aren't you?" And I mean, it's just been unbelievable. That's all anybody wants to talk about. So I want to tell you how this all happened. Cal and I are really good friends, have been for years. We beat Milwaukee in our conference tournament, and I got to my phone on my way to the press conference, and I had 500 and some texts, and the first one was from Cal, congratulating me. And I texted him back, "Yeah, we'll probably get paired against you guys." And he wrote back, "No, that's not going to happen. I'm not showing up if it does." So Sunday night, Selection Sunday, we get paired. And I call him, and and go back and forth. We can't believe that we're going to have to do this. And so the game goes on, and I get asked all the time, "How'd you feel at the end of that game?" Well, first of all, we were ahead by 5 with like 18 seconds to go, and my guys are celebrating, and I got caught on TV screaming the F word at them because the game was not over. And the word before over was the one they caught me saying. And so I just wanted to get to the end of it. And then the game ended, and I turned, and I had to go down and shake his hand. Well, let me tell you about Big Blue Nation, the Kentucky fan base. It's not. I mean, they're crazy. I made the mistake when we got paired with Kentucky of saying, we wanted this, all right? We wanted this matchup. And they took that as we thought we were going to beat you, and who's this coach we've never heard of saying that they're going to beat Kentucky? And that's not. We wanted it because Oakland was going to play the bluest of blue bloods, and I knew that our game would be at 7 o'clock on either Thursday or Friday night on CBS, not on True or whatever those other stations are that they usually play some of those games on. And we were going to get the national spotlight, and we did, and 8.4 million people watched that game. It was the most watched first-round NCAA tournament game since Zion Williamson played. So we got what we wanted. And I was getting Twitter and instant messages from these Kentucky people saying, "You can't zone us. We're going to kill you. Who do you think, So I understand what that fan base is. So the game ends, and I look down, and I got to go down and shake my friend's hand. And I know the storm that's about to hit him, okay? So for the first time in my coaching career, I shook somebody's hand after a game, and I had no idea what to say. Nothing. I just looked at him. He's about a foot taller than I am, like most people are. And I just looked at him. And then I guess on TV afterwards, all they did was show him walking off the floor. And then obviously our great Golke kid, they showed a lot of too. So the game ends, I go behind the scenes, and the winning team goes to the press conference first, so I went and did my press conference, and then I come out of it, Cal's in the hallway, and there's got to be 100 reporters surrounding him, and he looks at me, and he goes like this. So I go over to him, he puts his arm around me, we walk away, and this man who's about to get butchered, I look up at him and I say, Cal, I'm sorry, man, I had no idea what to say to you. And he goes, don't you worry about this. He says, I can take care of myself. You go and enjoy this. You were the better team tonight. Go enjoy it. That's the type of man he is. So I just wanted y'all to know that. Then, a little bit later, when he got to Arkansas, I sent him a text saying that, Cal, we need a game. I think the world would love to see Oakland play against you again. And so he gave us the game, and he sent the text back. He said, you won that game, and you deserved to win that game, but I was the winner. Because you got $2 million a year more going to Arkansas. I didn't write back, where's my cut? But I will eventually. So those are just the little things that go on in the business that I don't think, people know about. I think that, Isiah and George could tell you stories like this, that it's all about the people. And when you've been in the business as long as we have and done, some of the things that we've done over our careers, that is really, really, really what it's about, and getting to know the people. And you young people here, a couple words for you, okay? It's a crazy time in this world. It really is. And the one thing that, because of our win at Kentucky, all of a sudden, for some reason, everybody thinks that I'd be a really good graduation speaker. I got to speak at everybody's graduation. Somebody heard I did it, and that was, but the one thing that I would like to say to you, as I would say to these graduation classes, is there's a couple things that have changed over the years. And they were as they small changes, they were great, but now it's become out of control. And you guys are our future, right? You're the future. And what I'd like you to remember, this old coach on an event that you were at said someday, is we got to get back to understanding the importance of team, okay? There's so much in the world now where everybody's saying, look, it's your life, you do what you got to do, you take care of yourself, but life is a team sport. I've spent my whole career in athletics part of a team, but the reality of it is everybody sitting in this room tonight has spent their whole life as part of a team, whether it's your family, your work. Life is a team sport. And we got to get back to respecting and understanding that it isn't about the greater good of you, it's about the greater good of the team. And I had players that nobody had ever heard of are now commonplace names in the sporting world. Jack Golke will be the face of the NCAA tournament for the next 10 years. Every time an upset happens in that tournament, they're going to show him saying, we're not a Cinderella, or they're going to show him making some ridiculous shot. Trey Townsend's life was changed. Those players' lives were changed, not because of what they did, because of what our team did. And that's the story behind all that. And your lives are changed because of what that team is doing for you guys that I mentioned at the beginning of when I started talking. So please understand that. And then the second thing, and I'm going to sound like an old man here, but you got to understand this. We got to get back to respecting authority. We don't, yeah. All right, so my 15 minutes is over, but I'm going to finish that statement. All right? I think we have to question it, but we have to respect it. So that's what I wanted to tell you. Thank you for having me.
Great stuff, Coach. We were looking forward to it, and we still are going to have a little discussion among the three of us. Mostly I just want to find out what these two guys think about any number of things. But we know that the YMCA's focus is on youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. And I remember playing grammar school basketball at the YMCA in a town I grew up in. I went to the Catholic school, but there were 6 to 7, 8 other grammar schools with all different demographics. And it was the best learning experience ever. You see people from all parts of town, and you realize we're all the same. And we all want to win, and we all want to be part of a team. And I would imagine that in Isiah's case and in Coach Kampe's case, there were spots like that. Was it the Boys and Girls Club for you, Isiah, when you were young?
Boys and Girls Club and also the YMCA. Yes, both of them. And you're right about, meeting people from different neighborhoods and not only meeting people from different neighborhoods, but also they had good food at the YMCA also.
And do you guys remember your first game in competition, Coach Kampe? Coach Kampe's from Defiance, Ohio, and that's where my mom's family's from, so we're like family. Anyway, Coach, this is a guy who played a lot of sports in high school, but when you first started, you remember your first competition? How old were you, and where were you?
Yeah, my first game I ever played was a football game as a 7th grader, and I got knocked out. So I'll remember that the rest of my life. I was maybe 60 pounds playing against all those big guys, and it made me want to come back, though.
Well, I read when Coach Kampe was a senior, I believe, he played every snap on a very good high school football team. So played cornerback, probably quarterback. He was the punter. He was the place kicker. He was the kick return guy. He was the punt return guy. So football has always been in your blood, and Ohio is a great football state. And what I know is that you and Isiah got to know each other when Isiah and the Pistons used your place. You made note of that a moment ago at Oakland U to practice. So you got to see some of these physical, brutal Piston practices. Now, maybe it didn't surprise a football guy, but as a basketball guy, what did you think of those practices, and did they affect your team at all?
Well, I learned a lot from that, Coach Daly and Jack McCluskey at the time. I came to every practice. I mean, that was the bonus of my job, is that they practiced at 10 o'clock and we practiced at 1 o'clock. And Isiah, I got to know him. I mean, he interacted with our team. Scott Bittinger babysat for you, and it was just a really cool time, and to see that level, and to see the greatest athletes in the world, but the physicality of that game. I mean, just go watch the 30 for 30 on the Bad Boys, and then watch basketball today, and it's two completely different sports. Some of the people today would have a really hard time. I don't know if they'd last.
No, they wouldn't. I would say that the toughness, right? And I talked to Coach here. Where's Coach at? I don't know if he's still in the audience. But he talked about his team tonight, and he wanted them to have toughness. And that's what we were all about, being tough. And practice, I never drove the lane. Literally, I would beat my man, get to the basket, and I would stop at the dotted line, Coach, and I would put the ball down and say, that's 2. Because if I went any further, Mahorn, Lambeer, Rod, they were knocking me down. But, your team was a tough team, and it's not always about talent. It's not always about how fast you can run or how high you can jump, but it's about how mentally tough you can be, and can you concentrate and hang in there? Because most people will let you win rather than being mentally tough against you.
Well, this guy, as most everybody who followed the Bad Boys is aware, is one of the handful of greatest players to ever play the game. And but when it comes to toughest players, pound for pound, to ever play the game, I've been in the league 50 years. I would vote for this guy. How about you, Coach Kampe?
Yeah.
I mean, he took poundings every night, and when he broke his hand, he said, "Can you fix this so I can get it around the basketball properly?" Said that to the doctor.
Just go watch the fourth quarter of the playoff game when he scored on an ankle that you couldn't even walk on. And I saw the ankle. Now, back in the day where they were at our place, I saw what that ankle looked like in practice the next day. And go watch that quarter of basketball. I say the greatest quarter of basketball ever played.
Thank you.
I would absolutely agree with that. I was lucky to be there and talking about it to the folks back home. Isiah, we know that the commute to high school for an hour and a half and the last mile walking in the winter toughens you up. But where did that toughness originate? My guess is from your mom, who told all those gang members, "Get away from my house." Would that be right?
That's absolutely right. My mom was the toughest person that I knew. And you left one important part out when she said, "Get away from my house." We didn't know that my mom, let me say this right in this audience, we didn't know my mom understood the Second Amendment. To those who know what I'm talking about. And she came out on the porch and told everybody, "Look, if you don't get away from my house, I'm going to blow you across the expressway." And from that day on, the respect that she got in the neighborhood and in the community, it passed on to us. So that toughness came from my mom, not necessarily from me.
Did she really say there's only one gang around here, the Thomas gang?
That's the
to all
Thomas
those
gang.
members?
There's only one gang around here, and that's the Thomas gang. And if you
She
don't
was
get off
right.
my porch, I'm going to blow you across the expressway. And after that, it was, "Hey, Miss Thomas, how you doing?" And I grew up in a neighborhood. I wasn't known as Isiah. I was Miss Thomas' son. That's Miss Thomas' son. That's Mary Thomas' son. So.
And she was a wonderful lady. We got to know her very well when she would come to Isiah's games and make a visit to Detroit. I know she was proud. We were proud. You got to be proud. The best players of your era, Kareem, Magic,
Yeah.
Larry Bird, Jordan, you beat them all. You beat every one of them.
Consistently.
And how's that feel?
Not just one time. It feels good, George, because every time they talk about those guys, I'm like Muhammad Ali. I get to walk in that room and I get to say, "I beat you, I beat you, I beat you, I beat you." Now the public may say, "Y'all the best," but can't none of y'all say, "Y'all beat me." And those are facts.
And you can look it up.
Not just one time. My head-to-head against Magic and Kareem, I said Magic and Kareem, because he had Kareem, the greatest scorer of all time, until LeBron just broke his record. Okay, Magic had him, right? And then Bird had McHale and Parrish. Jordan had Pippen, and then he had Jordan, and then he had Jordan and Jordan. Then he had Jordan again. But it's a great feeling when you can walk into that room and say you beat them all.
Darn right. Unbelievable accomplishment, and the NBA probably should make more of that, in my humble opinion. Coach Kampe, talking toughness, a late friend of mine, and I bet a coach friend of yours, Dick Harder, brought that toughness in his own way to the Pistons. I was walking out of Kemper Arena in Kansas City one night with Chuck Daly and Dick, and Chuck said, "The way those guys knocked us around, Reggie Johnson, that's not basketball." And Dick said, "Chuck, that's the way I think the game should be played."
Mm-hmm.
And Chuck said, "Oh, you really think that, huh?" He said, "Yeah, I do. We should start thinking that way." And we did. But you played against one of his teams on the Far West Classic, didn't you, with the Kamikaze Kids with the Oregon Ducks? And was Ronnie Lee on that team?
Yes, he was. I got the pleasure of being guarded by Ronnie Lee.
Me too. Wasn't good.
I think it went way better for you than it did for me. Yeah, we played Oregon. I think the final score was 45-41 or something like that. And back in those days, that didn't happen. You know, that's when all of a sudden this defense wins championships. And Dick, he had a lot to do with that. He had a lot to change the culture of college basketball. And it was, you know, I think his philosophy was if all 5 guys foul at once, they can only call one.
Isn't
right?
that the truth? And you know, I had a football coach friend who was the best basketball player in Montana, so he got to go to Dick Harder's camp. And he said, all week we dove on the floor. And since I was a football player, they loved me. Some of these other kids didn't want to dive on the floor, but that's what you had to do if you went to Dick's camp.
You imagine that today?
No.
Can you imagine a practice session where you're making kids dive on the floor today? Wouldn't happen.
Oh, wow.
Let's
Wouldn't
talk
happen.
about,
I can't even imagine that.
Wouldn't happen.
well, that's how you make bad boys, if they want to be bad boys, into even badder boys.
It's not because the kids don't want it. The NCAA has.
Yeah.
Bob Huggins gave me this drill, Isiah, and it was the best thing I ever put into practice. Put a treadmill on the court, all right? And when a kid screws up, instead of yelling at him, make him go do this, make him go do that, and they're gone for 5 minutes,
Right.
put them on the treadmill, 60 seconds at 16.
Ooh.
And they're back in 1 minute.
Oh, yeah.
So it worked. Nobody wants on that. Well,
No.
they came in and said, we can't do that anymore.
Not at that pace.
You know, a guy I knew in high school was Pat Bolin, who was the owner of the Denver Broncos. He came to a game one night when we played the Nuggets out there, was with, I want to say Kelly Tripucka and I, but maybe Dave Bing and I courtside. And I said, look out there, who do you like? I thought he was going to say, you know, Lambeer or Mahorn. He said, man, those 2 guards, Isiah, Joe Dumars, we could really use guys like that. And I know you didn't get much of a chance to play football, Isiah, but I know you're a fan, aren't you?
Oh, I'm a huge fan. And I played football all the way up until 8th grade. And then I was going out for the football team in 9th grade. I remember Mr. Fingertor, my coach came in, my basketball coach. I had the pads on and everything. He came and grabbed me. He goes, no, that's not going to work for you. Well, football, I think when you play basketball with a football mentality,
There you go.
that's what gets you over. Because, you know, in football, those guys, every time they line up, they hit. And they have to prepare to get hit. And that type of intensity, that type of emotion, if you can bring that to the court, and Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, them guys still talk about getting hit. But if you go back and you watch the film, they probably only got hit once. But in their mind, they still believe that they got hit every single time. So fear is a great motivator.
Sure. Coach Kampe, you had record numbers as a punter and played all 4 years in football as a corner at Bowling Green. And I know you have a football mentality to a certain degree. I think your dad and your brother both played for Michigan, I believe, on very good teams. And so which sport do you like best, as it turned out?
Well, on game day, there's nothing better than football. On game day. The rest of the week, because of what he just said, you got to get hit every day, every time. You got to be prepared to get hit. Nah. But
You can leave those practices alone during the week?
Yeah. When you're 5'9", 170 pounds, you didn't want to get hit that much. I think the greatest thing, though, what Isiah just said, the greatest thing about football for me was overcoming fear. That, you know, you get ready. I mean, football is a collision sport, and, you know, you go out on the field and there's 45,000, or, you know, we played some Power 5 teams, so there were 100,000 people in the stands, and they're all there, and it's like you're gladiators, you know, you're getting prepared to play, and you're in that locker room before the game, and you're trying to muster up the adrenaline in that so that you never show fear, because you know what's going to happen. As a defensive back in the 70s, there wasn't a lot of passing going on. It was, you know, wishbone and 6'7", 285-pound tight ends on an arc block that you have to go through to, you know, keep containment. And so the fear of that coming was what you had to win. That was the battle.
Well, the Gladiators make for great weekends for all those college and pro football fans, and the same thing goes for basketball. I know that there's probably not a person, at least above a certain age, in the state of Michigan who doesn't long for those kind of bad boy days. We talk about, you can't go in any place and people don't want to start talking about it, and you guys converted the suburban fans into bad boys fans. They say, if you went into the beauty shop, all the ladies under the hair dryer saying, "You got tickets tonight?"
Yeah.
Because it was a big deal, and it's still, when we talk about it, it's still amazing just to even discuss it.
Well, winning, when you win, it has that effect, and then everybody shares in it, and we didn't just think of ourselves as playing for our team. We thought of ourselves as playing for the state of Michigan. So every family we felt like was a part of our family. And they treated us like family. And so the responsibility that we had to the woman in the barbershop, the person at the gas station, they took pride in us. So it was like, hey man, we got to win. And some people will say, well, you don't want to do anything to win. And I say, no, I don't want to do anything to win. But hear what I'm saying. I want that other person to think that I will do anything to win. Because if you think that, then you're going to let me win. I don't have to do anything. So the mind games that Michigan, the state of Michigan, was able to play on the basketball world was that, oh, Lambier's going to hurt you. Oh, Mahorn's going to hurt you. Oh, you may get hurt. Them guys may hit you. Them guys, they play rough. Oh, they may hurt. So the person who came to the arena, he was thinking about getting hit. He wasn't thinking about playing basketball. And soon as somebody touched him, he was ready to fight. And we played basketball. But they was thinking about getting hit.
You know, Bill Lambier takes a lot of heat from around the country for being the baddest bad boy and having a bad attitude, which he certainly didn't as a person or as a leader. And I know you guys were close, are close, and will always be close.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think of Lamb.
I love him. Out of all the guys that I've ever played basketball with, if I had to pick one person to win with, it's Lambier. Why Lambier? Because he will make you think that he will do anything to win the game. And therefore, you would let us win. So I want to play with a guy who wants to win. Lambier competes. He plays hard. He competes within the rules. But as a teammate, George, the one guy you can always depend on, night in, night out, was Bill Lambier. You would look at a stat sheet. Before Rodman came, Lambier was leading the league in rebounding. I'm going to say that again. Before Rodman came, Lambeer was leading the league in rebounding. And then Rodman came, and Rodman and Lambeer were 1 and 2 in rebounding. Lambeer said, I'm going to let Rodman be the #1 guy at rebounding.
You could see it. He pulled his hands back around the rim, let Worm get the rebound.
That's a teammate. That is someone who understands winning, understands what it's like to be in a team. And truly, when coaches ask for you to sacrifice, Lambeer is not in the Hall of Fame today. I'm going to say this again. Lambeer is not in the Hall of Fame today. And to me, it's one of the biggest travesties in sport that I've seen in a long time. Because here's a guy, I'll ask you this question, George. When's the last time you seen a white American-born center win back-to-back championships in the NBA? And if somebody in the audience, you got the answer to that question other than Lambeer, please raise your hand. I don't think there's ever been one to win back-to-back. And this guy's not in the Hall of Fame.
Well, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Some people say, well, he will be, but there are a lot of petty people out there who, for some reason, didn't like his personality or whatever. I know Coach Kampe would agree. When you're trying to get a defensive stop, you better get a defensive rebound. And he led the NBA in defensive rebounds in the 80s, which is a great, great testament to his tenacity, toughness, and ability. The 80s, I don't think there's a better decade for NBA basketball than the 80s. So many great players, and we're still playing real basketball then. That defensive, your defensive rebounders helped you win games. Did they not, Coach?
Well, I think I can't really add to what he just said, because everything he said, as a fan watching it at the time, you knew that's why they, as a, you know, with a little bit of a coaching experience that I have too, you knew that's why they were winning. But yeah, you can be the greatest defensive team in the country, but if they get the rebound and lay it in, so what? So you have, no great team doesn't have people that sacrifice, and to be a great rebounder, you have to sacrifice, and both Lambeer and Rodman did that.
And Lamb would take all the heat. When the people started booing him, he would just wave his arms, boo me some more, because you're not booing the other guys.
But George, you remember this. We went to Portland. So Portland came into Detroit, and did they win game 1 or game 2? They won
Game 1.
They won game 1. And we win game 2. And this is when the NBA changed the format, and they went 2-3-2.
Yeah.
We had the first 2 games in Detroit. The next 3 were in Portland. And we hadn't won in Portland in 20 years. And I get on the bus. I never forget this. I get on the bus, and I'm like rocking like this. I'm nervous. We're going to the airport. And he goes, "What's wrong?" I said, "Man, I just hope we win one game. I just want to win one game." Lambeer looked me dead in the eyes and said, "We're going to win all 3. I said, "Lamb, I just want to win one." He goes, "No, we're going to win all 3. So game day comes. We in the locker room. There's not a word being said. Chuck doesn't write anything on the board, doesn't give us assignment, anything. And he just comes in and he says, "Let's go play." So now Lambeer's first. I'm always second. Dumars is third. And the CBS TV camera is right in front of Lambeer. And we start walking out of the locker room. Boom, boom. And Lambeer starts picking up his face. So now I got to keep up with him. And the cameraman is backpedaling. Boom, 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 boom. And now as we get to the floor, Lambeer takes off full steam. And I don't know if you remember this. He knocks the cameraman up. Boom! The camera goes flying everywhere. Lambeer has the ball in his hands. and he goes to center court, and he boom, slams the ball. The ball goes almost up to the ceiling. The fans, woo, woo, woo. And I look down at the Trailblazers, and they're all like this. We win game 3, 4, and 5.
Just as he predicted.
He is the best.
We had a great team and a great coach. And tell me the way Chuck Daly prepared you guys, and sometimes the way he left you alone.
So Chuck was masterful because he met all of us when we were young men and all 22, 23, 24. None of us were married. None of us had kids. And what Chuck Daly did as a coach, people should go back and study this, because when we were young, he coached us hard. He let us make mistakes. And as we got older, every year, he coached us different. He started treating us like, you got a family, you got a wife, you got kids, you know. And at that time, you didn't really think about it, but the brilliance of him was to be able to understand you as a person, as a man, and as a player, and here's what I can give you to help you along the way of this journey. I mean, his storytelling was beyond belief, because he came from Philly, watching Dr. J have to lose to the Celtics every year. So his storytelling, every time we lost to the Celtics, he would tell us a story about how Philadelphia had to overcome the Celtics and how they would lose and how Milwaukee would lose. So his storytelling, from a coaching standpoint, was off the charts.
One more story. The Pistons-Boston Celtics rivalry was, in my estimation, reasonably respectable. But the Pistons-Bulls rivalry was anything but. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I think they were out there somewhere about us.
I'm going to say this about the Chicago Bulls. Truly, right now, they're the only team, probably in the history of sport, that doesn't give anybody respect. When we talk about the Lakers and we talk about the Celtics, as we bow down, give them great respect. I haven't seen the Chicago Bulls respect anybody. I mean, you would think that they just been champions forever. So I look at them and I say, and I tell the truth, my and our main competition was the Celtics and the Lakers. And the Bulls came along and they beat us, and they talk about the way we acted. But George, you remember that press conference they had game 3?
Yeah.
How they trashed us and bad for basketball, blah, 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 blah. And it's like the guy who talks about your mom and dad and then after the game wants you to shake his hand. Well, the Boston Celtics, for those who remember that day at the Silverdome, when they walked off the floor on us, you know what we said about the Boston Celtics? They deserve to walk out, and we're going to give them respect of not humiliating them as they're going down. And back then, George, if you remember, when you lost, you didn't shake anybody's hand then. What you did is, after the game, you went inside the opposing team's locker room and you shook their hand and you congratulated them. Now, all of you are big Magic Johnson fans here. All of you are big Larry Bird fans. I want somebody anywhere to show me the picture of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird shaking hands after a game. But Jordan and his crew was like, y'all got to bow down, you know, shake my hand. Not after what you just said about our team, our city. Now, Coach, you talked about shaking Calipari's hand. You probably should have walked by him.
I want 20% of what he got.
That's what I'm saying.
I heard Michael Jordan on national TV on the off day after Game 3. Well, what do you think? This might be the end of the bad boys' reign. Well, people I know are happy. They're bad for basketball. And on and on and on. And that's not the way to behave.
But, George, I'm going to say this.
If you're a grown man, it isn't.
In the 80s, and I think I can categorically say this, I don't think there is a player in the NBA during that period of time that got hit harder and more than I did. I never complained. I never said a word. I even got the stitches and everything to prove it. All these guys talk about getting hit and whining. Okay, Magic got hit, Kareem got hit, Bird got hit, Dr. J got hit. I seen everybody get hit. But, we can't hit him?
Yeah, you can't hit Jordan?
Well, I'm sorry. He's gonna have to take one. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, I believe the NBA Finals '90. I've broadcast a couple boxing matches. It's not easy to do, by the way. That's why I don't do it anymore. But I've seen guys out on their feet. This guy was out on his feet when he came to
I got
press.
knocked out.
Yeah, he was knocked out.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, oh my God, we can't win this game if Isiah can't play anymore. In 2 minutes later, with an out of bounds play, he gets up, checks in, and goes back in the game. That was unbelievable. That's a world-class toughness, buddy.
Thank you, and we won.
Great to have you here, Junior.
Well, it's good to be here.
I know you're going back to New York, but we hope someday you won't have to go back to New York.
Well, you're probably right. That won't be happening. But I want to thank everybody for your time. And, you know, we and I try to be honest with you. And sometimes people don't like honesty. Sometimes they appreciate it. But I hope everything that you heard here tonight was honest from us. And to all the young people in the audience, persevere, overcome, and don't be afraid, and tell yourself you're the greatest.
The one and only Isiah Thomas. Coach, we kind of got you started on your speech earlier than you expected, but they cut you off before you were able to repeat your last two important points that you're going to. We just sit right here and talk about what you tell people, young people, and there's many young people out here as they graduate from high school and maybe college too, for that matter.
Yeah, and I realized Isiah had to go, so we, wanted to get to him. I just, the thing about, and you heard him talk about Lambert and the team, and that the most important thing in your life will be your family and your team. And I just, living it every day, I work every day for 46 years now in college basketball, which means I work with 18 to 23-year-olds. And now with the portal and all that, it's 18 to 24 and 5-year-olds, right?
Uh-huh.
And the message has to be the importance of team, and we have to get the world back believing that. And then the other thing that when she asked me to sit down was, I think you have to understand that, when I was a kid, if something went wrong with a person of authority, I'd go home and my dad would yell at me and say, "You do what they tell you to do." And I think that day had to change. I mean, I think you always have to. There has to be questions, and authority can be questioned, but it has to be respected. And I think we've lost that in this world, and we have to respect authority. I don't care who you are. I'm 68 years old. I've been a basketball coach for, 47 whatever years, and I meet coaches that, came before me, and I stand in respect to them. I stand in awe of them. And I don't care, that's just how I was taught, and I think that's what the world is missing right now. And I don't mean to preach, but when you have a chance to talk to young people.
Well, you'll learn that from people at the YMCA, but when they talk to you about it, now you've heard it not only from Isiah, but from Coach Kampe. And Coach, we thank you for all you've done for the Boys and Girls Clubs, for the American Cancer Society, for the Women's Shelter in Oakland County, and also for a group that emphasizes reading for inner city kids. It's called Beyond Basics, and my wife and I are a little bit involved in that as well. If you can't read, I don't know if you got a chance. And Beyond Basics has been able to bring kids who should be reading at a sixth grade level, and they're at a second grade level, brings them up to where they need to be. And if you're where you need to be, and you're doing the best you can, and that voice in your head says, "I could be the greatest," then you very well could be. And this nice young lady's nodding her head in the front row, and you could be. So we love all you folks. We appreciate you. And Coach, give me a little preview of your team next year before we let you go.
Well,
I know the portal's out there. And
somebody asked, we had media day yesterday, and somebody said, "Well, you lost Trey Townsend." I didn't lose Trey Townsend. I know right where he is. He's at Arizona. Got $800,000 to go to Arizona. So, I got to ask. I got to ask, what's the difference between the players then and the players today, right? And this was my answer. 20 years ago, if I asked a kid to jump, they would say, "How high?" 10 years ago, if I asked them to jump, they would look at me and go, "Well, why?" Today, if you ask them to jump, they say, "Oh, sure, but how much are you going to pay me?"
Exactly.
Now, I think 10 years from now, it'll be, "Well, that's not in my contract, Coach." So,
could be.
I mean, that's just the way things are going. So, I've got 11 new players. I really like us, but we've got Michigan on October 20th in an exhibition game at Little Caesars Arena. I'll know a lot more that day.
Well, if you like your group, they're probably at least reasonably well tied together at this point. And so hopefully they're thinking team, like you said.
Yeah, and I've got great leadership, and that's where it comes from. If the leadership, and they talk about culture in programs, and coaches talk about culture. I don't set the culture. I can try it's the players, it's the young people that set the culture. It's what you're willing to handle, what you're willing to accept, what you're willing to accept from your teammate, right? And that's why teams are so important, because if you're the leader of the team and you accept things that are going to hurt the team, that's on you. And so I've had great leadership the last few years, and I think I have it again this year.
Coach Kampe is the longest tenured college coach in America. This will be your 41st coming up. Jim Boeheim, I think, got to 47 at Syracuse, but now we have the man right here.
You know who's second? Do you know who's second in the longest? I'm longest, but you know who's second?
Not the kid at Michigan State.
Yep. So the state of Michigan has the 2 longest tenured coaches. That's kind of cool.
And by the way, I think we have a message from a friend of yours from Michigan State. Can we roll that, please? I think Coach Kampe
Greg
would
Thomas
appreciate
here.
hearing.
I don't even know where to start with you. It's been 20 years of playing you, but first of all, and most important, congratulations on your 40 years at Oakland. Unbelievable feat. To stay as a head coach that long anywhere is incredible. And you've weathered a lot, you've hung in there a lot, but you've done a lot. I also want to remind you that we've had some incredible games. And probably the biggest one was the one down at the Palace when you all but deserved to beat us in every way, shape, or form. I think we were one in the country. You had us beat 3 times. And thank God in the last seconds, coaching prevailed and we stole the win from you. But on a serious note, I've always had such great respect for you as a coach, as a friend, but also what you've done for the game of basketball. And a lot of people don't know, but you're on different committees, you're doing different things. For the level you're at, you've done an incredible job and made an impact on the game. So on this night, they're honoring you. They should. I don't think anybody realizes how hard it is to stay in the same place for a long period of time, keeping the excellence that you've kept. Last year, you had us all cheering. Nobody cheering harder than me for you to get to a Final Four. And yet, I do know how hard that is. I was so proud of you for what you've done. I appreciate you as a friend, I appreciate you as a coach, and I appreciate you and what you've done for the game. Last, I should appreciate you what you've done for the state of Michigan, because you at Oakland has been very impactful for all of us in this great state. So Greg, hope you got a few more years left in you, buddy, and I hope that they have a great time with you tonight. Good luck to you this year, all but one game, and I'll talk to you soon.
Great stuff from Coach Izzo and Coach Kampe. We are so fortunate that you have stayed here. I know that there have been overtures time and time again to get you to move on, and yet you have stayed at Oakland as a loyal Golden Grizzly. What is it that makes you stay?
Wow.
I know it's a tough question.
I wasn't expecting that question tonight, George. So, anybody ever hear of Sheryl Crow? She had a song, and I think the words of that song were, "It's not getting what you want, it's wanting what you've got." And I've always wanted what I had.
That's awesome. Thank you, Coach Kampe. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, George.
God bless.
Yep.
Go Grizzlies! One more time for Greg Kampe. Football player and a great basketball coach. It's been my pleasure to be here for the Blue Water Area Night of Champions and to share this stage with Coach Kampe and with Isiah. Great to be in this amazing SCA Fieldhouse as well. It's important for all of us to give back, we know that, and help organizations like the YMCA survive. Now, it looks to me like what I'm looking at tonight, this great building, all these smiling faces and these happy young people, that the YMCA here in the great city of Port Huron is doing well. But that has to continue. So we're hoping that you'll use that QR code at your table to make donations. We also have a great auction coming up with some one-of-a-kind Isiah Thomas pieces. And so stick around for that, please. And I'll turn the mic over now to the board chair, Duncan Smith. But thank you so much for being here. Love to everybody.
Well, I'm going to start by apologizing. I asked to go first, but I have to follow all these guys, so I'm sorry about that. As he mentioned, I'm Duncan Smith, chair of the board of the YMCA of the Blue Water area. I want to thank Isiah, Greg, and George for being here. I mean, these guys had awesome careers, and to have them in this house with us right now just makes this event that much more impactful for all of us, our YMCA, and our community. You know, and when I heard that Isiah and George are going to be here, you know, bad boys. I know myself and a bunch of the crowd has some pretty awesome memories of those teams winning, playing at the Palace. So great to have them here. Events and parties don't just happen. So we had a great planning committee for this event, and I want to thank all of them. So the Night of Champions Committee, I'm going to name them off so you guys all know who they are. So hold your applause till the end. There's a few names, but as I call your name, would you please stand up? Don Fletcher. We had Chuck Kelly. Mike Batchelor. John Batchelor. Dave McElroy. Rick Dion. Denise Brooks. Kevin Fitchett. Pete Lacey. And the anchor, the heart and soul of this committee, Leanne Baker. Where are you? So thank you, everybody. This is a great event tonight. We appreciate all your help. And to the volunteers and staff that helped put this on, thank you very much. But last and not least, everyone in the crowd that's here tonight, all of our donors, all of our sponsors for the contributions. We couldn't do this without you. This organization, the YMCA, is in a great place right now on many levels. And it's because of the future, very bright future we have. Thanks to past leadership, Denise, thank you very much. And current leadership, Josh and his team, thank you very much. But for the Y to continue offering inclusive programming for all, it's for everybody, whether it's exercise, swim, sport, education, childcare, all these things, we need your help, the help of our donors and contributors. Your sponsorships and donations provide support that allows the YMCA to offer programs to everybody in the area the Y covers. Josh asked me to mention what I'm most proud of accomplishing, the Y accomplishing as I was the chair. And a lot of things come to mind, but the one that keeps coming back is that the Y's growth. Right now, the Y is the largest it's ever been with programming and membership. From youth to senior citizens programs, our Y touches more now than it ever has in the past. And the driving force behind that growth is that guy right there, Josh Chapman. It's Josh's dynamic leadership, his vision for the future, but most important of all, is this guy's passion for the Y in our community that are pretty much impossible to match. So Josh, thank you. When this being a basketball-themed event, I'll leave you with 2 basketball facts. First fact, this guy scored the first 2 points of his 8th grade career. Thank you very much. Second is, this is an actual fact, a real one. By participation, our YMCA is the second largest youth basketball program in the state of Michigan. Second only to Detroit, by the way. So to those involved, congratulations, nice work.